Hey everyone, welcome to our podcast today here at the Michigan Cannabis Industry Association. I am Ida Pearl-Lee, the Deputy Director and Patient Advocate.
And my name is Jay Jones. I'm the Membership Director here at the MiCIA.
And real quick, we just want to say thank you to everyone for your patience as we are figuring out our podcasting behind the scenes. None of us have ever done this before.
Keep looking up. Yeah.
It's your turn.
So how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. Just to give a quick recap of what I did the past week. You know, the sun's coming out, so I think everyone's kind of coming out of their caves in hibernation. So I kind of got to visit some really awesome members out there who are killing it. And so did you, and so did Isaiah. Ida, you got to pick up some of Anquinette's Tea Party kits.
I did, yes.
For some of the team. And Isaiah, our producer, was able to visit the greenhouse. Then he caught up with me at Green Genie down in Detroit. I also stopped by Oma Medicine to see our board member, Mark Passerini, and support our member Redemption. Picked up some of their treats, and then finally ended up picking up our next guest, one of his carts. So it was fantastic.
Nice. It sounds like we're all having an awesome weekend, enjoying the weather.
For sure.
So as you all know, we will be featuring one of our licensed cannabis business owners weekly, getting to know them, their products, and their stories just a little bit better. And today joining us, we have Jake Berry from Pyramid. Jake, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you very much for having me on the show. It's even though I'm in Colorado right now, it's great to be here.
Right. What's the temperature out there?
It is 63. It's great, but we're slated to get like the most snow in the last 18 years this weekend. So they're anticipating us getting like 26 inches of snow.
Holy good.
So yeah.
Wow.
Well, glad you're there and we're here.
Yeah, right when I left Michigan, it was starting to get nice, like really nice weather. So
yeah,
I'm jealous.
50s, 60s today.
I think we're up to 63.
Wow, nice.
Nice.
Oh, 67. No, 70. Okay, nice. So Jake, your first experience here in Michigan, in the Michigan market, was when you came to Hash Bash in 2018. What comparisons to the early Colorado market did you see? And what about that helped make your decision move to Michigan for your Michigan operation?
Yeah, I came out to Hash Bash 2018 to kind of just get a feel for what the environment was like in Michigan, what was going on. And it was cool. It was a fun experience, It reminded me of when I moved out to Denver in 2013 and like how the industry was still pretty new and things were kind of just getting up and going. So in a lot of ways, it made me see that, hey, like this is a thriving, industry out here. This isn't something that's going to be kind of like, put away and put on the shelf. This is going to actually move somewhere. And it also kind of let me know, hey, this would be a good spot to come out to because there's clearly a lot of people that are very interested in the market. So, I mean, I forget who was running for office at the time we saw speak, and I was like, wow, you have actually politicians coming out pretty heavily in favor of this.
Yes, we do.
I don't remember who it was, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So Jake, you're originally from Texas, and then you live in Colorado now, and you have a killer business out there that you've established. And you decided to open up a processor in Michigan. I think you kind of answered the question a little bit there. So what are some of the challenges you've had in Colorado that have really helped you succeed here in Michigan?
I think just being around in the beginning stages of the industry really set us up for what was to come in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
There honestly hasn't been a ton of hurdles with regards to getting up and going in the industry in Michigan. It's actually been a lot easier than it was in Colorado at the beginning. But the big differences are, knowing kind of how the market's going to progress, what we think it's going to, and then also just dealing with the municipalities in Denver and in Colorado and seeing the changing landscape. We got a lot of experience working with the municipalities, especially as, labs weren't even really a thing at the time.
Right.
They were just getting into being licensed. So kind of figuring out how to work with municipalities and figuring out how to do that well in the Michigan market really helped us establish that there. And the other big thing is just all of our experiences, knowing how to make really great products, how to have all the marketing and branding behind us. That's really kind of I think helped us catapult
Right.
our brand in the Michigan market so far. Every time we kind of go out to new stores and we're visiting and getting with, the one thing they always keep saying is, wow, I haven't seen anybody else out here really pushing the kind of quality products you are, with also the branding behind it. So I think just having a lot of that experience has really helped us in the Michigan market to kind of almost get a jump start. So
That's awesome.
That's really awesome to hear. In your opinion, what's the thing that sets Pyramid apart from your competitors?
Sorry, you're breaking a little bit there. Can you repeat that?
Sure. I said, what, in your opinion, what's the most important thing that sets Pyramid apart from your competitors?
We're kind of in this weird range of businesses. You have some really large MSOs in the market, and you have some kind of newer guys as well. And technically we're an MSO, but we're pretty small. We only have one facility in Colorado, and now our new facility in Michigan. And what really separates us, I think, from a lot of the other competition is that we're not too corporate like some of the other big MSOs, and allows us to really move around and change our products very quickly and say, hey, look, we're noticing this in the market. We can, adjust our business practices to kind of get with the times. But we also kind of really already know what we're doing. So we're not running into something and saying, crap, what do we do? We kind of already have that experience from Colorado. So that kind of separates us, I would say, from a lot of the competition in the Michigan market, with just us having a lot of experience and know-how. And on the product side, it's just, we've been doing this for a long time. Mm-hmm. I know there's some very experienced operators in the Michigan market, especially on the caregiver side, but we're kind of bringing a new spin on that. We have a lab director who is incredibly knowledgeable, that really helps our products kind of go a step further than what's currently out there, with the use of more cutting edge technology. Some of the things that we do differently are gas distillation. People don't really know too much about how that process works, but if you buy butane, propane, your gases from these suppliers, it comes in. Most people just run their material, their trim, their weed directly from that gas. Well, one of the really big important things to do before you touch any medical grade product is to make sure you're putting in clean gas into that product. So we actually do a pre-gas distillation to remove any kind of impurities that's in the gas prior to running our material. So it's just really paying attention to those little details that really go a long way and help push us to like these really high end products and separate us from the rest. We're not just pumping out just stuff just to get into the market. That's not really what we're about. We're really about providing a high quality product at a much more affordable price. And that's kind of been the motto and how we've been very successful in Colorado. And that's what we're bringing to Michigan as well.
That's great.
It's really awesome to hear. Can you tell us about the development, I'm having a hard time here, about the development processing here in Michigan? And do you have any plans to develop a growth facility here as well?
Can you kind of expound upon that first part of it?
I think you've answered it a little bit with our last question, but what's your developing process here in Michigan?
So I think what she's getting at is like, I know you're using CO2 out in Colorado, and how you're developing it differently here in the Michigan market.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So the reason we chose to go with hydrocarbons in Michigan was just, we feel like the quality of products we can produce are substantially higher. And the other big thing is that it gives us a lot more things to sell, just to be quite honest with you. The amount of SKUs that we can produce in Michigan are substantially higher than what we do in Colorado. In Colorado, with the CO2, you're really limited. You can't make those sauces, those butters, those live resins. It's just not possible with that particular type of extraction. And so in Michigan, we just had to go a different way and really kind of get into the concentrate market, which we hadn't been able to do yet. So it was a risk in trying something new, but knowing a lot about extraction already and having a lab director who is very experienced and knew a lot about that side of things really helped us make that decision and jump. And we're currently actually in the process of converting our facility in Colorado to a hydrocarbon extraction facility as well, and getting away from CO2.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, people really have their set in stone what they like to do between ethanol extraction, CO2, and hydrocarbons. And, our concern was mostly the safety when it revolved around hydrocarbons. But with the amount of just advancements in the technology between, people being able to make safer closed loop systems, the rules that cities are putting in place, it's become a much, much safer operation to do, and you don't really hear about any accidents happening with regards to hydrocarbons anymore, just because a lot of that stuff was worked out already. So, the big step for us was just saying, look, we need to be able to produce these other particular products, and we think we can make better products than we're currently doing in Colorado. And so far, that's been the case. And as for grow facility, it's still up in the air. I wanted to do a grow. I have a grow in Colorado, but growing is very difficult. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. Everybody thinks that it's as easy as, putting a seed in the ground and you're growing money on trees, and that's not the case. It's
right.
Yeah.
It's a big headache, and you gotta really trust your grower. I just think it's a very volatile part of the industry. We're really good at extracting and figuring out those supply chains. Mm-hmm. That's where we've been really successful, and growing is a part of that. But for us, and what I find more enjoyment in doing is the extraction side of things. And yeah, growing is just a big headache, and the price fluctuates, rapidly from week to week, even sometimes. And a lot of people can get caught with their pants down, growing. And so it's one of those things where we're still kind of waiting to see what we want to do. I have an idea of what kind of grow I would want to start if I did. But right now, I would say it's not in our immediate future. I think what we really would be focusing on is opening dispensaries. If we were to kind of step outside of production, extraction, that sort of thing. And I would say we're mainly more looking forward to expanding our production facilities into other states as well.
Nice. Okay.
More focused on that kind of nationwide expansion, more so than, starting grows and other things in the Michigan market, because we're really looking at this as a kind of in the bigger picture being like a larger brand across the nation. Where you can buy, Bud Light, Budweiser anywhere, and that's what we want to be able to do. We want a customer that buys our products in Michigan. When they go to Colorado, they see Pyramid, they say, "Oh, great! I'm gonna buy Pyramid here too. That's awesome." Or they go to Illinois or Ohio or Texas, anywhere. That's what they're kind of getting, and so that's really our future goals and how we're preparing our business going forward.
Okay, that's awesome. Slow and steady definitely wins the race.
Yeah,
for sure.
Is there any up and coming news or announcements on your sauce and your live resin that you'd like to share?
Well, the Cannabis Cup's coming up. I don't know if that's on y'all's radar, but I think entries get submitted early next month. And so we have a couple of collabs that we're going to be submitting on our live resin and our sauce. And I don't know, we might release a butter too. So we're going to be doing some concentrate collabs with some growers that we work with in the Michigan market. And then we're also going to be submitting some cartridges, maybe some PAX pods. So that's what's kind of really in the pipeline. We're going to be submitting a lemon brulee live resin, which I think is going to go over really well. Super, super terpy, flavorful, more citrusy, fruity flavors to it. And then we're also going to be releasing a live resin. I believe the strain is Cookie Monster. So we'll have a couple different really cool entries and some posts regarding that. But as of now, no. I would say the next big thing for us to expand into Michigan is going to be rosin. Mm-hmm. We released rosin in Colorado, and it's done very well for us. Solventless is kind of really catching on. I don't know if the Michigan market's ready for it yet, just because rosin is just starting to become a thing. It's solventless. It's a much more higher priced item, and I think the market in Michigan needs to mature a little bit and can understand the full range of concentrate products before maybe that next solventless option comes in. But that's what we're going to be pushing towards, hopefully by the end of the year, is just another concentrate option for people in the Michigan market.
That kind of leads right into
It does. Can you explain the difference between your sauce, your live resin, the butter, and the wax, and what makes them so popular?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so yeah, I would say education is super key, and that's, if I could give one knock against Michigan, I would say that's the biggest knock right now, is just purely the education. But it takes time. It's a relatively new market. A lot of people were working with caregivers, and now they're kind of getting into the regulated industry. There's a lot of new products that people are seeing that don't really know what they are. They think they know what they are because that's what their old caregiver used to tell them, and it's like, no, that's not what that is. So a little bit of education on the differences between all these items is, the way it starts for us is it's our butter. Our butter is going to be our most affordable option, and that is going to be a extract that goes through our hydrocarbon machine. We get it out. We purge out all the butane, propane in the material, and then once all those solvents are out, we're gonna apply some heat to it. We're gonna whip it up to give it more of a peanut butter, a waxy type of consistency to it. And typically those are going to be products that are going to be less terpy. So you're still going to get a really good THC content with that, 75 to I would say 85% THC content in that range, but you're not going to get as much of a really powerful flavor punch to it. It's just going to be a much drier, more material that you can smoke. And that's also available in our cartridges too. So that's one thing with all these products. They're kind of available across all of our product lines that you're not going to really see with anybody else in the market, is we're really producing the same concentrates that we're making that you can dab. We're producing that in a cartridge or a PAX pod form for people that want to go that route instead of dealing with a rig, a nail, all that sort of stuff. Then the next kind of step up is going to be our sauce. Our sauce is prepared in almost the exact same way as the butter. We extract it, we purge off all the butane and propane. But typically, what that material is going to be a lot saucier. So there's going to be typically when you'll see it in the actual trays, you're going to see one layer of concentrate, and then you're going to see a layer on top of that that's going to be full of terpenes. And so that's what really gives you the flavor that you're wanting, and that's also what affects your high. I know a lot of people talk about sativa indica hybrid. It's easy to explain something like that, but what's actually giving you that effect are the terpenes that's inside the plant. And so, that sauce is going to give you a much more potent high and a much more flavorful hit as well. So that sauce is going to be when you open up your gram jar, you're going to have your concentrate that you can see your diamonds, your crystals kind of inside of there with a heavy sauce terp layer mixed in there to give you that kind of experience. And then distillate is kind of our prism line, which is our distillate, is kind of on that same tier as the sauce. So our sauce is going to be anywhere from that 75 to 85 range as well, but our distillate kind of takes it up to the 90s. So we would take that same sauce product that we extract, we would distill off the terpenes, which is what gives you that high. And then we would take that material and take out all the impurities that you get out of it. So what we're really trying to do is concentrate that extract into the most potent experience you can have. So we do a 3-stage distillation process on that sauce to turn it into a distillate. And at that point, we're taking that sauce that's anywhere from 75 to 85%, while making it up to 99% THC content, and then we'll add those strain-specific terpenes back into that distillate to give you that sativa indica hybrid high that you're looking for, and keeping it 100% cannabis. So our distillate, a lot more work goes into it, and really what makes it a more expensive product than you would say for a lot of distillate products in the market is that it's 100% cannabis. The majority of distillates that you're going to find in the market are going to be mixed with botanical terpenes. So the whole goal with distillate for a lot of processors out there is to buy the cheapest, lowest quality product and turn it into something that's sellable. So it's dealing with a lot of outdoor grow facilities, taking their trim and converting into distillate, where for us, it's still, we still want to be a high quality product that has a great flavor, just at the higher potency. So that's kind of that line. The last one is our live resin, which is my favorite personally. It's what I prefer to smoke if I possibly can, and that's going to be a fresh frozen material that's processed. So all those other products are processed with dry herb, so it's either dry trim or nug run, something that you would smoke in a shop when you go and buy. Where this process, it has to be done differently at the cultivation stage. So, when you have a grow facility, they're cultivating a run, they can't, typically they harvest it, hang it up to dry, and then that's what you're smoking, is that dried bud. Well, they have to chop the plant down, they have to buck all the buds off of that material and instantly freeze it. So we like to go into a -40 freezer typically. And then when it gets transferred to us for us to extract it, it gets transferred in either a ice chest full of dry ice to keep that temperature really cold. You just don't ever want that material to thaw out. And so what we're doing there is, for maybe some of our listeners who haven't been in a cultivation facility, fresh bud smells amazing. It's going to be the most flavorful material you can smell. Like when you walk into a grow facility, if you like weed like I do, it smells amazing, and you want to smoke that, but you can't smoke that obviously. So we're taking that really wonderful, flavorful experience that kind of gets dried up whenever we take it to a dried bud, and preserving all those terpenes, flavonoids into that bud before we process it. So essentially, we receive that material from the cultivation facility, we put it into our machines, and we extract it at really, really cold temperatures, colder than we would normally extract with. And we get a live resin product where, our sauce material is going to be really terpy. Like I said, you're going to have that terp layer, where with the live resin, you're going to have a much larger terp layer, and it's going to be a lot more flavorful. And that's the major difference. It's prepared the same on the post process, but what's really key is getting with a good grow facility and processing good material, and good frozen material. That's really what makes this product special. And it is definitely a much higher priced item, but you're getting a much higher quality product out of a live resin than you are a sauce, just because it's going to be way more flavorful. And the cost that's associated with that really comes from the fact that your yields are so much lower. So when we process fresh frozen material versus dry material, on dry material, we're going to get anywhere from 15 to 20% yields. Well, on fresh frozen, we're only getting 3 to 5%. So, it takes the same amount of time to run it. It actually takes a little bit longer, and you're getting lower yields. So, you add all those steps into the process, and the price skyrockets. But, it's just like any Scotch, Scotch takes a lot longer to produce, so it costs more money, and, it takes longer, but it produces a much better product. And that's the same thing with our live resin. So.
Thank you so much for that description. I mean, it's so important to understand what it is we're buying and the different products that are out there, and understanding how they're made and processed.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I think that's super important. So, and it's just educating the consumers, I think is going to go a long way in the market, and really kind of expand what kind of products you see on people's shelves. Because once people start trying these higher quality products and realize what can be made, all that does is it pushes the industry further along. So where, it's not just flooded with low end quality products, it kind of gives the consumer much more options, and it's going to just make that consumer much more willing to come in and take money away from their wine budget, their craft beer budget, and put it into the cannabis industry. And that money that's going into the cannabis industry is not only better for everybody who's in the industry, but it's better for, schools. It's better for, all the things that we're paying taxes on, that and all that. Where's that money going to? That's money is really helping out Michigan more than any of those other, products that that are comparable.
So true.
So Jake, I know you mentioned earlier that you eventually want to get into retail. And when you first got into the cannabis industry, you were managing a dispo out in Denver, I believe, correct? What made you make that jump to processing?
I don't know. So when in college, I kind of made a business plan for dispensaries, and I was like, this is what I want to do, and then I got out to Colorado after college, and I got into dispensary, and I realized this is just a retail business, you know, and I've worked retail growing up and, you know, clothing stores and stuff like that. And I realized that this wasn't really super exciting for me. You know, I spent about a year in a dispensary, kind of managing a dispensary with my business partner, Coley Walsh. And I just realized that I don't want to be stuck in a dispensary all the time. You know, a dispensary is like a restaurant. Somebody has always got to be there. And dispensaries in the cannabis industry, you're always open. I think most dispensaries are only closed one day out of the year, and that's Christmas. And I just said, you know, that's not something that I particularly want to do. And at that same time, vape pens were kind of just starting. And it was something that I kind of really looked at and said, hey, this is the future of cannabis, really. You know, dried bud is great and everything, but this thing is so cool. And I would see the individuals that were coming in and buying them and who was interested in them. And the people that were interested in vape pens were, you know, your well-to-do moms that, you know, wanted to smoke weed but didn't want to be judged for it. And, you know, it just opened the gate for a lot of other consumers. And I kind of thought to myself, hey, look, this is what the industry is going to go towards and really make a lot of sense in the future. And so that was kind of the thought process there was, you know, let's get into vape pens, let's get into concentrates. And, you know, luckily that's kind of where the market has gone to, is a lot of those products. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult to do and to do well. I mean, there's a lot of carts in the market and there's not many good ones. And that was a huge learning curve. And like that should have realistically bankrupted us because the amount of work that went into it was very difficult, especially in the early stages of the industry. But it kind of worked out. And now, you know, you're seeing it. You're not seeing it so much in Michigan just yet, but give it a couple of years. Kind of goes back to that education that we were talking about. Once people start to realize what their options are, like what's the difference between a cartridge and the differences in the different prices of cartridges and quality and like what your experience is, people will start really funneling into that part of the market. And so I'm glad we went that way. And, you know, I can spend time with my family whenever on those holidays now instead of working at a dispensary, which I don't think I would have been able to do if I would have gone the retail route. So I don't know. It's nice being in the processing side of things, and I don't think I would change it. You know, maybe dabble in other parts of the industry, but processing and that sort of stuff is just very interesting to me in general.
Sure. Jake, out in Colorado, so you aligned Pyramid with various performers, including Bay Sector. And one of the coolest things, and you know, you're wearing your swag right there, is you guys, like since day one, excelled at swag. And Michigan doesn't know that yet. Like if you ever go to a Pyramid pop-up, it's like a red carpet walk, and they have like drop and pins, and hats, and it's like it's a thing. It's pretty awesome. So, do you plan on aligning with any celebrities or bringing that kind of swagger to your swag in Michigan?
Yeah, you know, I mean, we've always kind of looked at like who's doing really cool stuff and saying, you know, these are the kind of people we want to market our brand to and really align ourselves with like this kind of this group. And I don't know. I mean, we're kind of looking around the Michigan market right now and figuring out what we want to do. There's lots of different influencers in the state. We don't have anything picked out just yet, but I would say that's kind of definitely in the back of our mind. You know, I mean, you guys have some great members that are celebrities already. I mean, geez, yeah, Calvin Johnson. You know, how cool would it be? I'd love to meet him. That'd be cool. Yeah. But we haven't really. We've developed the brand and kind of to appeal to a wide range of people. And how are we going to get particular influencers and groups of people to work with specifically? I think that's probably coming in the very near future, especially with like, you know, bigger groups and stuff like that as we continue to grow. But as of now, there's nothing really on the horizon for working with any particular celebrities or anything like that currently.
It's really cool. If you go in our house, like you have all of our like family, like baseball hats and stuff. And then you remember the old school Pyramid rainbow hat with the removable patch? Yeah. On our hat.
All their hats. Well, yeah. I would say, I mean, that's the cool part about it. I'm like super into, I wanted to be like I was a terrible college student. And I could not get into advertising school at the University of Texas at Austin, but that's what I wanted to do. And so I'm very particular about the brand and how things represent and stuff like that. And I would say, going back to one of y'all's earlier questions about kind of what separates Pyramid from a lot of the other brands out here, we talked about our packaging, but a lot that goes into that is also just like the swag and stuff that we do. I mean, I've seen some of the pop-ups out here. It's not the most enjoyable experience yet, especially with COVID. Once COVID kind of blows over, I think you're going to start to see some really cool events out in Michigan. But for pop-ups, dinner days, stuff like that, we kind of bring a whole twist to it where, yeah, it's more of an experience, and we have our PAX Pot engravers there as well, which I know we haven't gotten into PAX too much, our partnership with PAX too much, but that's something that consumers come in and they always want to mess with. And so it's just, we try to make it where it's a more engaging experience on those types of things. So
sure.
Nice. Well, I'm down.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Jake, you were actively involved with the Prop One campaign here in Michigan. Why was that such an important decision for you?
I don't know how involved I was. I think I definitely knew people that were very involved, so I don't want to take credit for that. I mean, I think Robin, kudos to her. She is a very, very special woman, I would say, especially in the industry, getting everything legalized out there. But yeah, we were a part of it, and the hard part with going into a new market without recreational being approved yet is that you're really, really limited on what you can do. And I would say Michigan was even a tougher sale for that reason, because you're going up against caregivers, people that aren't really paying taxes and doing things on a super legitimate level. And so, if you're coming in and you're saying, hey, I'm going to do it just like I run our Colorado business, it just wasn't something that was super, it's not something you could take to an investor and say, hey, you want to invest a couple $1 million into this industry where there's only this many medical patients here, and oh yeah, we're going up against all these people that are selling weed in the caregiver market as well. That's a tough sell. And so I would say recreational was very important for us to say, this makes a lot of sense to come out here and into the market and not only be involved on the medical side, but also be able to provide to, the other 9.5 million people that live in Michigan, so.
Absolutely. What else made you want to become a member of the Michigan Cannabis Industry Association?
Working with great people like you all, honestly. I mean, I would say that I've been pitched on a lot of places, especially here in Colorado, and it's like the it's like the cool kids club in a lot of places. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I've introduced myself to at some of these functions, and they kind of just oh, cool, and move on. It's I think my age kind of doesn't really do me any favors with that end, but it's hard to be taken seriously, and especially in some of these places like Colorado, these industry groups where, they've been working with the same people since 2010 when people were getting into the industry then, and it's just, it's harder to feel more welcome. And I would say, this industry group in particular is much more welcoming, and I feel like my voice is actually being heard. I mean, we're we're not a crazy sponsored member, but we contribute every month, but we feel like when we ask for something, it's taken seriously. We feel like you all take our concerns for the industry or for anything and kind of run with it. It's not just, we're not just blowing off. You know what I mean? I mean, look what you all are doing with testing and those sorts of things. I mean, we had problems with, some of the rules that the MRA wrote regarding stickers. And I can tell you, I mean, we had a couple of deliveries that we've made in the market where we deliver product, and on this, and the dispensary's interpretation of the rule and our interpretation of the rule is completely different. And it's kind of like, okay, well, we need to change. Even though we know our position was correct, we had to change it to adapt for what the dispensary is wanting, and kind of being able to come to you all and say, hey, can you get some clarification from the MRA on this particular rule? So it's something that we can provide to dispensaries and show them that, hey, this is how this is actually supposed to be done. goes a long way, and y'all being able to meet directly with the director of the MRA, Andrew Risbell. I think it speaks volumes of the level of I don't know the word I'm looking for right now, but the level of how well you all to get taken seriously in the state of Michigan. So it's just a big benefit for us, and yeah.
Well, absolutely. We love what we do, and we love our members, and your voices are important to us.
Absolutely. We love having your voice. You bring such a perspective with your knowledge from Colorado. So
absolutely. Thank you so much, Jay, for being
Jake.
with us today and sharing a little bit about your story and your products.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
For sure. No problem.
All right. Take care.
Thanks, Jake.
Enjoy the weather out.
Thank you. See you guys later. Have a good day. Bye.
Yeah, thanks.
We want to thank everyone for joining us today. But before we end, we would like to give a shout out to Blooming Botanicals. Blooming Botanicals is a family-run CBD company out of Lansing, Michigan. They specialize in herbally infused full-spectrum products, taking CBD to the next level. They pride themselves on employee training, unique premium products, and having great relationships with their partners and customers.
And next week, we have a special featured guest, Brant Johnson. And before we go, we just want to say thank you to Isaiah Roberts, our business development director, and Zaria Schneider, our marketing director. Again, they're behind the scenes getting all of this set up for us. And we appreciate everyone's patience while we're working out the kinks and all the hard work that goes into this. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hope everyone has a great day. Thank you.
Yep.